All right, and in 3, 2, 1. This is literally our 4th time rolling. I tried to spruce up the joint with some new cables, and then boom, camera didn't work, audio didn't work. It's chaos to the point where I'm almost in the dad seat because Kenzie's wearing her dad shirt. But we're gonna really give it a go.
We'll give it a shot.
And if not, I don't even know.
You're so frustrated. You've forgotten that you have an intro or anything you have to do.
Hi,
I'm
intro.
My name's Tyler Donis.
Who are you?
I've been
Donis.
on the show a couple
I've
times
always
before.
said Dones.
I know, and I've corrected you, but that's okay.
Donis.
Yeah, Donis. Yeah.
Is that
it's generational,
Filipino?
actually. Like no, it's German, Russian.
German.
German.
So I guess I'll have to redo the mini ad. These are Metolius hemp CBD.
There you go.
Joints. You're a dying breed of cigarette smoker, though.
Yes.
We literally just reenact all. I mean, we've been filming for about 20
was used.
Diametric.
Okay, what else? Do we do?
Man, I'm wearing. I love someone.
We're
with
not
autism
doing
shirt.
that.
We're not
again.
doing that one. People just listen to the audio. What's going on here, man?
They'll get caught up.
They'll get caught up. But anyways, yes. You want to formally introduce yourself for new listeners?
I mean, I'm fine. I'm Tyler Donis. I have a couple other podcasts. One of them is Being This Person, kind of on a vacation like you went for a little while, and the other one is Ruined Heroes, which is irreverent and not for everyone, but it's 3 white dudes behind microphones. What the fuck do you expect?
Classic. And if I have it right in my notes, you talk about race the entire time?
Oh yeah, every single episode is entirely
episode.
about the Klan. We did do a 2-parter on the Klan. There was so much fucking information on the
Do you
Klan.
have like a member on as like a guest
No.
show?
Oh,
Just
no,
you
no.
3.
Hell yeah, just the 3 of us.
You have him on. Well, what if you bullied him the whole time? Then it wouldn't be like supporting the Klan.
Right.
You know?
Right. But
have him on. You look like old bitch.
No, we have dinner together when we're done recording. I'm not going to have dinner together with somebody from the Klan at my house. I'm just not.
So you're scared that he's convincing, or like why not?
I just not my kind of people,
I mean,
man. Like there's a line you got to draw, and I'm sorry, coming in robes is where I'm going to draw that line.
We actually 2 episodes ago, I was wearing a pope outfit. She was wearing a priest outfit. So we did wear robes. The guest was a cop, so we weren't going to do costumes this time. We figure once every dozen shows or so, we're going to costume up. But eventually I want that entire wardrobe to be full of costumes. It's a dream I have. Costumes
it's not
are
hard to
expensive.
achieve.
It is hard to achieve.
No, actually, I mean, again, we're back to the thrift stores. Another thing we talked about when our fall starts. You just keep your eyes on there.
Yeah.
Lots of shit.
But man, if you try to buy costumes,
and
but then you have a
don't
stinky
be afraid
costume.
to shop in the women's department because there's
I'm
some great
not.
stuff.
Most of my pants are women's pants.
And one of my best hoodies came from the women's department.
Do you know how sweaty people get in costumes though? Like I don't think a costume of all things that I'm going to thrift because 1, you can't really wash them or it wrecks it, and 2, people get sweaty in costumes. They're made of all polyester. It can't breathe.
I did festivals for so many years. All my costumey stuff. Like I've got full bodysuits and shit that I don't have any need for anymore because I don't do that scene anymore.
What kind of festivals?
I did country fair and
Nice.
those kind of things.
You seem like a country fair person.
I was a country fair person.
Mixed with it, not to just recap and make the entire episode your last appearance, but last appearance was even named the trials and tribulations of a polyamorous orgy vendor.
Right.
So those are all some other festivals.
Those
Do
are
they even
also
call
other
them festivals? What do they call them?
Yeah, frequently festivals or conventions. You know, cons. Everybody's got a con nowadays, which just makes it sound dirty. Mm-hmm. Like I don't need to be conned by a comic. Can we change the name?
Yeah. Someone's doing stand-up comedy at a big orgy. There's like 200 people all sweaty, oiled up with avocado oil
I
slipping
don't know
around.
that stand-up is going to be the thing they're shooting for.
But what if it was like Bill Burr, like a big comedian? You'd be like, everyone's like kind of like everyone's like kind of getting flaccid. They're like paying attention. This is pretty funny.
I could see Stanhope pulling it off maybe. But
Honestly, could you imagine being a stand-up comedian at a 200-person orgy? Like you would have a lot of content to talk about.
it wouldn't work. You'd have content for your next show, but you wouldn't have content for right there.
For that show. Yeah, you're calling people out.
And
people
the
start
people
fighting.
people are not into watching you. They're into their own. Think about it. They're in their own sexy world. Like they don't want.
Do you have videos of you at one of these? Like behind the booth and like
There's pictures of me in my booth all over the place.
I want to find one so bad. You say that, but you're a moderately private guy. Like a lot of places, like on Facebook and stuff, or maybe not Facebook. You go by pseudonyms. Right?
I used to. I've started changing that.
Yeah. Any reason? Why do you want to be more public?
Well, I'm self-enjoyed now as opposed to working for somebody else.
Nice.
And so having my name out there is helpful, and it just made it, that. And I did it because I just never quit doing it from the earlier days of the internet. So 99, 2000. I always had a fake name. Are we actually still recording, or have we lost it again?
Oh my god! As soon as we see her
I
swipe,
saw her move. I was like, "Oh crap!"
I'm just taking a
we're
peek.
freaking out. You should keep checking because we're
It appears like we're good.
nice. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Holy cow!
So anyhow, that's why I did it. Is I just never quit doing it. I always had fake names on the internet. And then, fear started to go away, and the internet got to the point where it knows all about your private life anyhow.
Yeah.
And you just kind of throw caution to the wind and go,
Yeah.
I also figure that anything that I was doing is illegal. Was
Pretty
doing
much legal now.
Yeah, and they legalized most of the other crap.
Crazy.
I mean, you're sitting here advertising for a cannabis product on a podcast
live.
Yeah.
Doing drugs. CBD is almost not really a drug, but yes, I get the point.
CBD I call a little bit more of a medicine. Not that I don't call marijuana medicine.
I call all drugs medicines, man.
Well, true. They all have their place, right?
I'm just taking Adderall. It's medicine. Just literally staying up till 3 a.m. reorganizing
Adderall
my
is
room.
medicine until you start using it recreationally, and then it becomes a drug.
Which is what, 2 doses in? Like, you take it. That was a fun fucking... No, Adderall stops being a medicine about 15 minutes after taking it. Honestly, it just becomes, well, this is one of the most amounts of dopamine I've had in my entire life.
It's one I haven't done, but I don't do pharma drugs normally.
No?
I've done lots of experimental and those kind of things.
Yeah, 2CB. That's the one that...
2CB. I love 2CI. I love 2CT2 is fantastic.
The Alexander Shulgin's creations.
All the Shulgin's
I want to try them more
Have you read his books?
The Pikal and Tikal?
Yeah, read them.
I may. The whole thing is, I'm like, those are so interesting to buy because I'm going to go to someone, hey, you have 2CB? Almost no one would know what it was, and they'll probably just sell you whatever they have and be like, yeah, this is 2CB. And it's like, it's kind of hard to test for those ones as far as I'm aware.
It is. It's difficult to get them road tested. They have to send them away to very specific labs. So get this. Back when I was buying them, I would order them direct to my doorstep from China. It was legal still.
Wow.
That was so cool.
That's crazy.
that day is long gone now.
Mm-hmm.
Like they passed all the synthesis drugs and anything that's close no longer. But back then it was really cool. Like I can't get MDMA over the counter, but you know what I can get?
2CB, pretty close.
Yeah.
That's nutty to think about that. Well, wait, what year did that stop happening in?
I want to say like 2004, 2005 is when it started getting really hard, I think.
Because they made...
I mean, I'm old, seriously. Remember
How old
I
are
got
you?
gray in my hair.
I honestly couldn't guess your age. Some people are like simultaneously every age at once.
It's because I look like a pirate. I'm 48.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a really good age. That's actually pretty much the next door neighbor's age.
Yeah.
What's the best or the worst thing you've known about growing older? Because I just turned 24, and I see memes that say my favorite childhood memory is no chronic back pain, and I laugh at them already. I'm like, what am I going to think in 20 years, man?
Right?
Fuck.
Yeah, my kid is your age, and he's like, his knee's been busted up a number of times from athletics, and his knees are already hurting. I'm like, dude, it's going to get worse. Worst thing about aging... My memory doesn't work the same way it used to.
Yeah?
That might be the drugs and drinking that,
Probably.
They probably didn't help.
Yeah. Are you a drinker? Do you enjoy...
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Would you want to take a shot of rum?
I would drink a shot of rum.
Would you? We have about a shot left. Put it on 3. Would you go grab 2 glasses really quick? I've never sent her off, but now I'm like, oh my, this is massively underutilized.
You got it. You picked up a producer and bar staff while I was gone.
Isn't it? I know. I only have a little bit left. I initially bought, because the first time I ever started drinking on the show, you've been on the show, never really drank or did anything.
I had beers the first time.
You had beers.
Yeah.
It was at a U of O building, so
legally, so we couldn't really
Yeah.
say much about it.
But pretty much like 5 episodes into doing it here, I was like, I guess I can camera switch. Look at this, crazy. A couple episodes in, I was like, why don't I just buy alcohol? I'm over 21, and it's my fucking house. So I bought a bottle of vodka and a bottle of rum, and the first guest left with the bottle of vodka, and so we only have rum left. And the other guest was, he was a pretty surprisingly drinker. So we can almost just split it 50-50 and then
good with that.
sip it. Because I figured drink it earlier on in the show, so by the time you're leaving,
That's
you're
fun because
sober.
when I record at my house, I offer people whatever, because like I said, I've got the sister that works at the tea company, so I've always got tea around.
Yeah.
I've got nice coffee around. I keep water around. I've always got alcohol around. Like,
Look at me. I can only offer
whatever
people
you want.
CBD joints. Doesn't even get you high.
Well, you're fixing it. You're giving me liquor. Here,
probably about party
Let's make
shots.
some bad mic noise. There you
Clink. All right, salute.
go. So anyhow, you got me all distracted with offering drinks and.
Again, so when we went to the store and bought this, there was a person behind the counter. Do you drink whiskey at all?
Oh yeah.
And I tell the guy, I'm like, what's your favorite bottle here to bring home? And I don't like whiskey. He's like, well, I'm a whiskey drinker. You probably just had really shitty stuff. I'm like, what was the name of it? It was like Branson's or Blanton's or something like that.
Okay.
And he's like, Blanton's? I haven't even had Blanton's. That's a rarity because like some like pretty well-off person just had it around. He's like, well, you have to try this. Like, I don't care if you don't like whiskey or never tried it before. Because I never really drank it. And it was really, really shitty. No, it was okay, but it's just like
Actually, I will kind of agree with you on that. Yeah. I'm kind of a mid-shelf whiskey guy. Nice. That's what I like. It's kind of the middle shelf, the $30, $40 bottle. And I've gone and I've done whiskey flights, and like $40 for 3 1/3 shots. So $40 for a shot of whiskey, essentially, right? And just so you can taste the high end stuff, and it always just tastes like fucking jet fuel to me at that level.
Crazy.
I don't get any oak, I don't get any peat, I don't get any sweetness. It's just like, I'm saving myself a whole lot of money by having crappy taste. Apparently,
that's a lot of things in life. The cheaper taste you can have, the more things you can enjoy.
Yeah, you should see all my exes.
That's so funny. I guess you probably have a lot more than the average.
May have been a little rough, but
you hear me, you just like start calling them out by names. But I mean, as a
yeah, right. Somebody's Google searching me and they listen to this, and now I'm getting car bombed.
It might be. Hopefully not that. But your second episode was called "Trials and Tribulations of a Polyamorous Orgy Vendor." So which means
but you keep going back to.
Keep going back to. I don't even know. Honestly, I don't remember which was the first, second, or third take. So I may have said it in this take. But anyways, this is the first time on possibly any podcast I've ever had to restart more than once.
Hey, well, again, I'm taking the blame because you had somebody in the room that understood technical difficulties.
Yeah, but anyway, I appreciate that. Yeah, if this happened with
you work the bugs out with somebody who understands.
Thank God. But yeah, thinking about your exes, you probably have a lot more than the average folk. Being polyamorous, you probably
I have
just,
a handful.
Free flowing, anyone, free
love,
dirty
I was a goon as a child, man.
What's a goon?
Kind of geeky. I was a band geek. So
really?
There's that, yeah.
What a
band and theater and stuff.
Yeah.
And I went to this is like band what an old rock star wears, right?
Yeah. Band geek.
I don't know if you've been on the internet lately.
No.
I'm not Fred Durst or something, but still.
Band geek you sees a picture of you at a 200-person orgy. That's me in 10 years? You in 10 years looks at him? Yeah.
You don't know. People got it on at band camp.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not just a movie?
Those people get freaky deaky. And why do you think there's such a high population of gender fluid people in theater arts? Right? Yeah. It's a comfortable place. They're happy, and people figure shit out in those places, man. Let me tell you.
I've only been in that situation once. I took a theater class at OSU, and that was the one class I fell asleep in multiple times. It was small. We all sat around one table.
Asleep in a theater class?
Late college, I started doing all-nighters like 3 or 4 times a week. And at a certain point, because again, Adderall, I started realizing, I'm like, man, this is not good for my mental health.
No.
Fuck. But then anyways, so I was like, those people are like, there's a certain level of like artsy and like fluid, which is like, there's nothing solid there, Like you have to have some level of like, I don't know, people who like talk about like nature and Gaia and energy all this time, like sometimes it's really fun when it's like, oh, a person you least expect like talks about energy and like, stuff like communing and all that stuff. But it's like when a person's whole personality is like this weird fluid nature of like believing in this stuff that I'm like, it's fluff. It's a lot of fluff.
Woo-woo. It's a classic word.
Classic.
Classic word. I agree with you. I mean, but it's nice to see people have an understanding or at least an acceptance or have, dove into it a little bit, look at it.
Yeah. Were you ever gender fluid?
Was I ever? Am I?
Are you still?
We didn't have words for it when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. And so I grew up being whomever I am.
Yeah.
And I'm bisexual because that's the word I used when I was a kid, and so I've just stuck with it.
Boomer.
Works out. Yeah. Yeah. Well,
terminology that's from more than like 5
Gen
minutes
X
ago.
all the way.
Yeah.
I am smack in the middle Gen X, dude. Nice. I went to Lollapaloozas. I did like straight Gen Xer. Yeah.
You're like that cool older figure. I'm kidding. Because there's so
the younger the old person is, the cooler they are.
That's actually a really good way of phrasing it. Yeah. Like, honestly, I would say everyone between about, like, early 20s to late 50s has the same mindset where they're just like, oh, my God, this isn't going to last forever. Let's have fun. Let's be nice to everyone. And then as soon as people, like, start hitting a certain age, they're like, I need to hoard resources. I need safety and security. And it's just like, damn, it puts you in that mindset, too. I'm like, well, I guess I'm not saving very much either. I don't have a 401k or anything. I'm like, we're all of us in the middle are in it together.
I don't know, man. Gen X is, by and large, very, very disillusioned. Like, we were the first nihilistic generation. Like, we literally wore T-shirts proudly that said "loser" on them. Like
loser.
It was a Sub Pop T-shirt. If you were into the Sub Pop culture, which meant Seattle grunge rock at all, you knew at least 8 people with the "loser" T-shirt. Like, we were that way.
Seattle?
What's that?
You grew up in Seattle?
No, I grew up in. Well, I was born and raised in Denver, and then I grew up in the Willamette Valley here, Salem area. But
Nice.
we'd go to Seattle for shows. We'd go to Portland for shows. It was a hot time for music in the Pacific Northwest.
Now is not, especially with COVID. Kenzie and I never drive any more than like 2 hours away.
I was supposed to go to a comedy show 3 days ago, and that's gone. You know,
Really? Yeah.
But you're
Brutal.
laughing out loud amongst a crowd right now, not a great plan.
Yeah, good point. But I mean, it sounds good for the heart and soul. Like honestly,
It was going to be my first show back. I hadn't been to a show since.
Yeah. I don't think we've been out really to any public. No, we went to Blair Alley, and I'm like, the entire time I've been at have you been
They're
to Blair
pretty
Alley?
aware. They're pretty
Are
aware.
they?
Folks.
You say that. That's the one time in my life
Really?
that I felt like, because I'm like, I'm like, oh, the COVID things are like way too strict and blah, 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 blah. But I was at Blair Alley, and there's like 200 people in a non-ventilated room. And
It
I was
is
like,
kind of a
what
hot
the
box of a
fuck's
room, I'll give you
going
that.
on here? I'm like, that's the one time where I'm like, this isn't safe. Also for my ears, it's so loud. Why does no one tell the memo to like these clubs and things? So it's like, hey, maybe don't play it at a deafening level. Like, and then they're like, everyone in there has some hearing damage from last night they were there, and they're like, well, that's not loud. It needs to be for them to hear
You
it.
definitely wouldn't have made it in the 90s.
I don't think I would have.
There's
Yeah.
no way.
Brutal.
Everybody I know has tinnitus. We all have a constant ringing. We make jokes about it. I watch TV with the subtitles on because I can't hear shit.
That's so funny. I can't watch TV with subtitles because I read them the whole time, even though I hear them.
It distracts me.
It
Yep.
distracts the fuck
Yep.
out of me. I'm like, I can't even turn it off in my brain. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna watch the show, and I like zooms back.
My
into the
attention
words.
just immediately goes to the words. That's where the
Crazy.
information is.
Yeah, it's where information.
I've been taught that throughout my life. Is
Yeah.
all the information is where the words are. It's not necessarily what somebody's saying.
People are weirdly attuned to information. Like when you're talking to someone, they're like low input. Like a lot of what they're saying is like platitudes and like this boring stuff. You kind of tune out. But when everything that someone says is kind of like high value information. It's like gravitational. You know, you're like, whoa, what's going on with this person?
Can you restate that? Because I don't know if I understand what because you just kind of went.
Yeah. So like,
I mean, I've talked to you before. You do that, but
yeah, you're talking to someone, and a lot of what they're saying is like, oh, I've heard someone else say this before. Oh, this is like a boring quip or like something, but like someone says something completely out of, like for an example.
Okay.
Yeah, like
I see where you're going.
And some
now.
people don't like it. Like we're an example where like some public company or like not public company, some company shipped something that's like an energy drink or like some health drink to someone, and the box came done. Like kind of messed up, and they're like, you should send like a nice email to them. I'm like, you should sue them. Like, you should kill them. And the people were like, whoa. But I'm like, that's so much funner than just saying like the boring thing that everyone thinks in their mind. And they're like,
That's also how you get out of control and in trouble. I mean, you gotta think that one. You gotta take that quick second to make sure that is this the right crazy thing to say.
yeah. But as long as I mean, you don't make like way out of line jokes have their place. A surprising amount.
they
If they
do.
land, boom. You know,
Well,
you gotta know your audience.
and you got to really read the room. You know, I have certain crowds that I will lay different jokes down on because I know that I'm not going to be.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not on a microphone,
Yeah,
so
if
I'm
you're
not
on
going to
your
end up on the
pseudonym.
fucking news for what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
And B, I know that they'll take whatever I'm doing. And
You ever get offended? Like, what would it take to offend a person like you then? If who's very just free spirited and like, you know.
I get touchy about word use now because I'm so aware of it myself. I mean,
Really?
spending so much time on mic, I try, I've tried to remove retard from my vocabulary.
Yeah. As you
Or
say
I've
it.
tried to use the word crazy. I've tried to quit using crazy to define
Yeah.
people. Crazy's cool to define a situation, but it hits home for people.
Yeah.
And so just having that awareness, that I'm going to say bananas or bonkers or zany or something instead.
Wait, what about orgy throws you off? Like the way I use it, because like I
No,
bring
I
up-
just think it's funny that
Oh,
you're so fascinated with
it's
it.
it's. I think everyone who like knows someone, because I mean I can't even imagine it. I'm like, wait, there's so many people. I'm like, normally when I'm in a group of more than 5 people, I like kind of hide out into the corner. So I'm like, what if everyone was naked and I was naked? I'm like, oh my god, that would be my nightmare personally. Like you'd have to have such a level of extroversion to feel at home, and maybe it's an environment again I've never been in. So like it triggers you when people like mention it or when people joke around about it, or like what about orgies?
It
would
doesn't
offend
bother
you?
me.
You just I said what would offend you, and you said people talking about orgies.
No, I said I get a little bit weird about words once in a while. Word use.
What's a
Word
better word
use.
for orgy?
I don't know if there's a better word for orgy. I was talking about words like crazy, man.
Okay, yeah. No, I agree. I mean, that's one of rule number 2. Don't say anything bad about Kanye. He was a big proponent of that,
What?
like, not using crazy and
Don't
stuff
say
like
anything
that.
about bad account.
Not a single thing.
Sorry, it was nice talking.
It was, but it's funny that you're repping a very similar brand in terms of like being very aware of everyone has mental health. And
Right.
like it's a spectrum of like how healthy are you, or how much help do you need, or like what tools do you need in your tool belt to fix it. He's very against people using crazy and stuff like that.
Well, I hear that, and all joking aside, I'll respect him as a musician, but the guy has made some interesting news stories happen.
Yeah.
Like, come now.
That's his job. That's his job. At some extent, you got to understand, like, how do you stay in the public eye for 20
but
years?
I think there could be better use of his publicity. I think he could really okay. So for instance, Miley Cyrus does a really good job of using her publicity and her public persona to promote some pretty decent stuff. She's huge into women's rights. She's huge in the LGBTQ community. She's really doing a good job to use her fame for something that I think is more helpful than Kanye and all the.
We watch them as like these crazy things where you're like, it's like NASCAR. It's like,
part
whoa,
of it
is
is
there
that he's all tied in with the Kardashians. I don't think it would be quite as nuts.
But it's kind of like, ooh, are they going to crash and burn? Is their whole career and their life going to fade? Or if it's like they're just like literally just kind of like complaining and trying to like use it as like, this is a teaching moment. Every time I have a platform, I'm like switch. Kind of like nature documentaries David Attenborough used to be like, here's this cool thing. And pretty much the last 5 years, every nature documentary is like, and that's why climate change is going to kill this panda bear. I have to turn it off. I don't like people using. Yeah.
Can't do it.
It can't do it. It's like so.
They're
like,
nature conservationists.
I don't want my.
That's the biggest thing in their face all the time. That's their major message. That's what they want to do. I understand maybe you're not going to have Greta Thunberg on your show, but seriously, you can listen to the folks once in a while.
No, if I'm trying to numb out, I'm trying to like, all right, society's enough stress and anxiety or whatever the fuck it is. I want to numb out and look at someone who's just pure chaos and fun and babbling and stuff like that. I don't want them to like look into the camera and be like, so anyways, that's why 1 in 4 children are sexually abused. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? You're supposed to be making me laugh right here, not making me like, I should go out and change society. I mean, at some point we have to be able to shut it off and be like, this figure in my life is just purely for fun. You know, like comedians, like they don't have to get political ever.
A lot of the really good ones do. I don't know if you've seen Bo Burnham's Inside, which is really good.
I stopped listening to him actually. Like once he started getting political, we may just be on different ends.
He took 5 years off. He came back. This is all about his mental health. It's a pretty fucking amazing thing. And the other one that I compare it to is Hannah Gadsby's Nanette.
Did you say Bill Burr's Inside or Bo Burnham's?
No, Bo Burnham's Inside.
I think Kenzie watched that. What do you think of it?
Half of it.
It's
That's
incredible.
always a good sign.
It's a one-man show, and it's incredible. And he's a very talented man, and he does delve into some very interesting mental health topics.
Yeah, I don't think anyone has millions and millions of dollars is allowed to have a mental health problem. They obviously are, but like to some extent,
I think having millions and millions of dollars creates mental health problems.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, that's
when you become a billionaire, you become a genuine sociopath.
Sweet.
Yeah. Okay, so how do we get there then? I mean,
if I could figure out how to be a billionaire, I wouldn't be sitting here.
Like a lot of people, like Billie Eilish, they make their whole brand. I might
still do it.
You may still do it. Very kind. A lot of like Billie Eilish
Don't
is
you
just
say
an
anything
example.
bad about my girl Billie.
I like her music, but she
Love
makes
her
it
music.
like, oh, like poor me, I'm a millionaire. It's like,
I can agree with the poor me thing.
Like
she and her brother put that first album together in their parents' house, like totally supported, and it's not a schlubby house while going to private school and shit. I agree. Maybe there doesn't need to be the poor me, I'm downtrodden thing, but
she's anxious.
She does make some damn fine music.
Yeah, but like to what extent is that encouraging other people to also be anxious? Like what you consume is kind of what you put into your headspace, and if like, oh, look at her, she's a multimillionaire and she's stressed, maybe I should be stressed. Or like all of her songs kind of encourage like,
do you think it's that, or do you think it's just awareness?
Like she's making the content that people want, rather than she's shifting the public perception?
People becoming aware because they are able to see someone and identify with them and identify some of those same behaviors or personality traits and look at themselves and go, oh, shit, maybe I do have some anxiety.
A little self-diagnosis.
Yeah, just because they're able to be connected to somebody else. And I mean, we live in a pop culture society. There's no denying that. Yeah. So you look up to the people on the TV when you find out that, you know, one of the Helmsworths isn't as happy about his looks as he could be. You're like, supposedly one of the prettiest people on the planet, and I can kind of understand a little dysmorphia from that. You know,
in the words of Kelly from The Office, if he's not handsome, then I'm not handsome, and I'm gonna go kill myself.
Right?
Yeah, I think those people should be very well of the stature that they have in reality, and just be like, hey, I'm really lucky to be here. I'm sure like everyone goes through like ups and downs in life. Hypothetically, I push back a lot against that, but like I think encouraging stuff like that, like encouraging, everyone has low points in their life, may be detrimental. It's like I think there's a possibility that people can be radically happier than they ever like are and not have bouts of depression. Do you go through depression?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Why?
I mean, lately it's the fucking fear of the unknown. This whole self-employment thing is
classic.
Striking out in fear of the unknown, and like you do everything you can, but it's still not moving as quickly as you'd want kind of situation, and it just becomes this overwhelming snowball of, well, Why even get out of bed? I don't know what I can do to make it any better today.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for the phone to ring with money on the other end of it.
Wow.
You know?
Good point, yeah.
And it can really, I mean, I'm a pretty
So
strong
in other
person.
words-
It's not normal for me to go through this, but
Yeah.
but I do go through bouts of it.
In other
absolutely.
words, all your depression would go away if you're a millionaire. You're literally proving my point. Hey, what makes you anxious? Uncertainty about job stuff, money, blah, blah, blah. Like classics, pretty much
man.
everyone. And just after you being like, no, millionaires have even more
Dude,
mental
you
health
led me
problems.
down that path on purpose.
did.
That was a dick move.
Because I'm pretty sure that's everyone. Like, seriously, if you had millions of dollars, what would you even have to worry about right now? You'd probably have to find something.
I'd
you
have
know?
to worry about who was taking care of my millions of dollars.
Yeah, good point. I mean,
I had to
honestly,
find somebody I trust to take care of it because I'm really
Yeah.
shit at math and checkbook and all that kind of stuff.
that's a
I would be.
checkbook,
It would be
quick
like
book.
it'd be like 2 days till I didn't have millions of dollars anymore if I was
Yeah.
in charge of it. So there's worry number one.
There's something to that in the sense that, like, before I ever met Kenzie, I'm like, my like stress anxiety in terms of like interpersonal relationships was like, oh, I really want to find a partner. And now that I'm like, oh, I have someone who I'm really happy with. Now I'm like, oh, hopefully she or I don't get hurt. You know, it's like maybe there is always some base level of something there, but to what point does having that worry help? Like, it seems like the minute that I'm like, oh, you know what, I'll find someone, I find someone, boom, she came into my life immediately. We found each other. And the same when I'm like, I think worrying doesn't actually tend to help a situation.
I'll give you that. I find
Thank you.
that worry for me actually works because sometimes delving into that in my head helps me find a new solution or a new answer, or a new path I can try, or something I haven't done before.
Yeah.
And I think that's how that impulse works for me. Maybe it's how I've learned to use it.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean,
But you could
'cause I'm
brainstorm
gonna
without
have
the
worries
worry.
anyhow.
Why?
Because the world you're going to worry.
I'm not saying I
I'm worried
don't.
about rolling over the stupid cable behind
You
me.
should. I mean, that'd be ridiculous.
That's a valid.
That's valid. But like a lot of things is I'm just trying to like, I'm not saying I'm there. I'm not saying anyone in the world may be there, but I'm saying like, however worried you are, you've had times in life where you're less worried.
Yes.
And could you just keep reducing it to the point where you're not worried at all? Is there like
It'd be really cool, Zen Master, if
Be
you could do that.
really
But Buddha
cool.
here hasn't taught me that one yet.
yeah, I think that's actually a Buddha statue. I don't know if this is
How
Hindu
much are you
something.
practicing though?
Yeah.
Oh, at least I meditate, unlike this idiot.
Wow, you immediately called me out on that. Shots
Bam.
fired.
Nice.
Wait, do you meditate in terms of like, I just learned about these things called the jhanas, which is what I'm most interested in meditating toward.
No, I don't
'Cause you have
meditate.
to have a goal
I
in
don't
mind when you
meditate with
meditate.
direction. No, you do not.
Kidding.
Well, okay. I guess if you want to get down brass tacks, yes, I do have a goal in meditation. It is to let my mind, let my thoughts move freely through my mind without stopping on them. So maybe it is your avoidance, your worry, or what have you. But to let that go through and just be an open lobby in a hotel,
Yeah.
and all those things can go through, and then I can come back out. And frequently, I realize that some of those thoughts went to their damn hotel room, and I don't have to worry about them anymore.
So what you're saying were those worries were invalid.
Sometimes it's worries. Sometimes it's excitement that needs to be set aside.
Why
whatever.
Why would you want incitement to be invalid? Enjoy
Ah,
it.
You can
Enjoy
make
it
some
and-
bad decisions when you're super excited, man.
No,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How do you think most people get STDs? Bad decisions while they're super excited.
Wow.
I just make impulse buys.
You get right?
That's
Yeah,
been my
that too,
excitement. I like black
seriously.
out and I'm like, I gotta go buy it right now.
It's only on sale for today.
Yeah.
Some package shows up on your doorstep. You're like,
I don't know why I did this.
damn it.
I was on the best drug of all, mania.
Right?
Really, though.
Exactly.
Yeah, all right, yeah, very, very valid. I wonder if more bad decisions are made out of depression and like sadness, or more made out of like. I think overall being happier may make you more sustainable in life. Like obviously, there's a lot like bipolar. Like once you reach a level where you're out of touch with actually what's real in reality, that's when you get dangerous. But just being like, I'm really happy and at peace. Like you probably want to buy less items when you're really happy. You probably want to.
Yeah, I mean, the buy impulse is just our need to get a serotonin feed, right? Like we just want to feel that I got my thing. That's why eBay did so well in the beginning. It's like, gotta have that. Like, I'm looking for that one transformer,
yeah.
you know, and that excitement.
And the
I would.
bang.
Yeah,
Kill-
exactly. And that's where it is right now. Is it's like the people that are addicted and they just watch the last 5 minutes, click, 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 trying to get that thing and get that sugar rush. You know.
I would literally kill someone if it gave me a little bit more serotonin. Buying stuff. I mean, so what do you do in terms of like elevating your mood? Like if you're feeling down one day, you're like stuck in I think way early in the show I used to call it like the glue trap. What do you personally do to elevate your mood and get away from that?
I'd find something to do. I talk myself to get out of bed. I take a shower and I find a project. and just accomplishing something. And it can be the most menial, tiny task. Like
Jerking
take the
off.
garbage out.
I
No,
mean,
that
taking the
I said
garbage
get out of bed.
You don't jerk off standing, just
While
walking
I'm
around
walking
your
down the
house.
hallway.
Yeah, I go to your house. It's
I
like
do
this
live
sticky-
alone.
I've been walking around naked. That's the joy of the second floors. I'm like, oh, we have no worries. But I'm
Right?
like, oh, if I was on a first floor, all windows would have to be closed.
I live in a very busy street. And I got black curtains though, so life is fine.
You have black curtains, but imagine if you could have them open. How sick that would be. You're just like standing like
I don't need
like
that much. It's a
helicoptering,
south-facing
looking at-
window. I don't need that much sunlight in the house. That's part of the reason there's curtains
I
there.
guess we only have a south-facing window too. But again, you kind
Yeah.
of seen our. This was supposed to be a bedroom, but I'm like podcast room. Our living room is going to be our bedroom. So we
It's so
get
cool,
yeah. it gets-
You got a studio apartment with a podcast room.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I have a
Right?
studio apartment with a god. It's a good way to think about it. And then she gets a room too. So it's like a 2-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
But neither of them are bedrooms. Living room, bedroom, and we each get a fun room for like whatever we want it to be.
Hey, it works out well. You know,
Yeah.
my podcast room is what we would call it the artist formerly known as Oberon's room, because it was my kid's room, and once he moved out, I was like, mine.
Freedom. Oh my
Come
god.
get your shit.
Because in our dealing with that, because when moving into here, we each moved out of our parents' house, and both of our parents were like, nice, more room for stuff. And I'm like, how much do you need? Because we're like, I don't know. Like, I'm almost scared of owning a house because it allows you to just start building up.
Oh,
and, like,
dude, it does.
having
I am
stuff.
weighed down by so much physical stuff.
Yeah. So like,
I mean-
renting may be better in that way, in that you have to stay light.
When I was renting, I had a lot less stuff. I was also in a different place in my life, but I've lived in this house for 20-some years.
What place were you in your
There's
life there?
so much shit in my house.
Crazy. Why don't you throw it all away? Give it all away.
What am I? I'm not going to throw my piano away. I like to play it occasionally.
Oh,
you
upright
know?
piano?
What's that? Yeah.
Upright or yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Electric
tiny
pianos are
house. I
not
could
the
not
same.
get.
No, not a
Well,
grand.
that's
but I
one
meant-
thing.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Well, I'm not going to throw the bass that's next to it, or the two guitars that are next
You
to
can
that,
keep a
or the
couple
giant
things.
amp that I think is crazy cool, but I don't play any stage gigs, so it's okay. It sounds like shit, has a weird crackle.
Yeah. That's so funny.
I'm just not going to get rid of that stuff.
There's such a difference between having an electric piano in a room and having an upright
A
or
real-
any sort of
real
real
piano,
piano.
yeah.
It's literally night and day difference. Like an electric piano, okay, I have to turn it on, and it's this weird like, all right, it's
Now
digital
You just sit down and
sound.
you just go blinkety blinkety, and it makes noise, and a couple of the keys are slightly out of tune, and it has
Yeah.
character.
So
and,
much like a
yeah.
drum set, it's like electronic sucks for instruments. I've got to say it.
There's a place for electronic drums, but
the
as a
garbage.
portion of
garbage,
as the
seriously.
portion of an
Middle of
actual
fire.
set, like an acoustic set with some electronic pads, so you can affect noises
Oh,
that you
yeah,
don't
that's
normally
great.
Oh,
have.
that'd be
There's a
cool.
place for it.
But in terms of like feeling good and like getting into a flow state by playing an instrument, you have to have that like natural, not like from a speaker, like from a little like a speaker. Like you have to wear headphones when you have the an electric piano on, and it's just like this isn't
not the
giving me
same.
any
No.
enjoyment whatsoever.
I don't get the resonance through the room.
That's
I
what it
don't
all
get the
is.
sound of my voice with it. You know,
Yeah.
and
You sing? Sing right
I
now,
don't know.
please?
Does
I'm
Tom
kidding.
Waits sing?
I have no idea who Tom Waits
again,
is.
back to the smoking and drinking.
Yeah.
I used to be able to sing pretty well. Now I just like gravel along.
Gravel along. It's funny. Literally just today I woke up and I'm like, how am I going to spend? Because we were up to like 3 a.m. debating on if a podcast should come out or not with the next door neighbor, and he ended up posting on his own private channel.
Right.
So it wasn't a part of my show because there was dog barks in it, and I immediately sent him a screenshot of me reporting it for it infringes upon my rights, and then trying to take a copyright strike against it. And then today I woke up because he had recorded the cover of The Gambler. He's like, but it's like FUV related, like FUV Arcimoto, where it's like, it's just had involved the company in it. So I did a cover of that, and I stood in front of the projector covering where he was singing it. And I'm like, how do you like it this way? How do you like it if I take over your life? Just fun stuff like
Funny, but dick move.
that. Yeah, I know. It's not,
Like I see the humor, but
There's-
it is a dick move.
It's a dick move. There's a certain amount of like love that I have being around other trolls and people who it's like life's long and there's enough obnoxious stuff, so just have fun and fuck around with each other, you know.
I agree, and that's why I do a lot of what I do. You know, and
I
especially
don't know what you do. You're such a private person. You used to screen print. And
I
now?
used to manage a screen print shop. Now I am a sewing machine technician.
Nice.
That is my job. I have, when I sit at my desk editing my podcast, I can, without even moving, see, I think I'm up to 7 machines. And that's just facing this way.
Sewing what?
Sewing all
Robes?
kinds. No, I'm not. I'm buying and refurbing and selling
Wow.
or repairing other people's machines. These aren't mine. These are like, I either got a deal on them and I'm going to put some work into them and resell them, or they're machines I've taken in for. Like I got an 1896. Some guy came down from Tacoma. I was up in Portland picking up 2 machines on Saturday. Some guy came down from Tacoma with a sewing machine from 1896 in his saddlebag of his motorcycle
Yeah.
to meet me in Portland with it because he
That's
thinks I'm the
nuts.
only guy around. I'm like, I spent weeks trying to convince this guy that there's somebody closer than Eugene to Tacoma that can do this. He's like, no, I just believe in you. But like
So
in
you
a
fixed him up
saddlebag.
for him?
Yeah, yep, that's what
It's
I'm
funny
doing.
you
I'm gonna fix
tried
it up.
to convince him not to bring it to you.
Well, that's a crazy distance. There's a number of technicians between here and there
Yeah,
can
but
do the
it doesn't
job.
matter. He wants to
But he
do
was
it.
like,
You
I
also
just like
sew?
talking to you, and I was like, so yeah.
Oh,
whatever.
I like talking. Do you just fix sewing machines, or do you also sew? I have two things that I need to be sewn together.
I started sewing when I was 7. I've been sewing
early.
most of my life, which is why I'm a sewing, why I'm a sewing machine technician.
41 years of sewing.
Yeah.
So screen printing was
Cool.
like you're cheating on
It was
sewing.
well, no, I was
dying
running.
shit that was-
I was fixing their embroidery machines and running their embroidery machines as well.
That's crazy.
I was the production manager.
Yet you wear a non-elegant shirt. Like that's just a regular
Just a
shirt.
regular
It's not
old
like
black-
sewn. It doesn't have anything like special about
Nah.
it. Nah.
Like a true designer.
Yeah.
I used to, man. I dressed that way for years when I worked for Nordstrom. It's not my job anymore.
You worked for Nordstrom.
Yeah.
Were you one of the
5
models?
years.
Or that's hot. That's,
No, I was a
Hollister.
manager. I was a manager of the men's sportswear department.
Man, do you?
Dude, I've had a bunch of lives, kid.
Yeah, seriously. So you've managed a screen printing shop. You've managed Nordstrom's. Is there something about like? But now you have no people under you. Isn't there like? Do you enjoy or do you not enjoy managing?
Depends on the atmosphere. Almost every job I've ever had, I've been in management.
Wow.
Put into management eventually.
That's
So
crazy.
like when I was working for McMinimans, I ended up in management. When I was working for Nordstrom, I ended up in management. When I was working at the screen print shop, I ended up in management. When I was working at the fish market, I ended up in the closest thing there was to
The
management.
Fisherman's Market right here.
No, Newman's,
Oh.
the good one.
Good. Shots fired. That's funny. So wait, why,
Dude, if you live in Eugene, there are two kinds of people. There's
Yeah.
Newman's people and there's Fisherman's Market people.
why would people or what gravitated you toward manager positions? Because I specifically, I'm like, I don't think I would ever have.
Money.
Yeah. Okay. Because I'm like, for me, I'm like, I
Money.
hate dealing with people who
Like,
are like.
I raised my
interpersonal.
kid by myself. Anytime I can make more money by taking him to management position, hell yeah.
Yeah.
And in fact, the last job I had at the screen print shop, I spent the first 2 years there, telling him, don't you dare promote me. I got this job because I want to just be the worker bee.
Yeah.
And then like the situation changed. He's like, I need you to be manager. You will? And it was like a significant amount of money. And I'm like, aight. But people just seem to have that faith in me for.
You just
because-
really liked firing people, didn't you?
No, there's a lot of dumb people who think that I'm good at managing, I guess.
so
I hate firing people.
Well, it's just so interesting to see, like, not a lot of people like gravitate towards the exact same thing every position they have, but every
Always
job
end
you've
up
been
in
in, I'm like,
management.
whoa, what? I guess probably your resume is just like managerial experience everywhere.
Yeah, and it's like 5 years at this job moving into management. 5 years at this job. I got like 6 entries on my resume since I was 16 years old, 17 years old or
But
something.
now you're on your own. You don't even
No,
use your
I'm-
resume, do you?
What I'm going to do? Send it to myself?
Yeah,
I mean, I do
exactly.
have more than one email address. I could pretend I'm applying for my job,
That's
but
so funny. You like being on your own because you're your own manager in many ways. You got to be your own. You ride your own ass.
unfortunately not enough. Yeah, I do. I mean, there's a lot of freedom. Like, I can just randomly schedule, sure, I'm going to go play on a podcast. Or my kid gets off early from work, let's go fishing. Or,
Nice.
I'm going to go visit some friends. But the other times, it's like anything happens is on me. And I'm barely afloat, like, don't make this sound grandiose. I'm new. I'm less than a year into this thing, and I'm barely afloat. And there's some big changes coming soon that are going to make it a little harder to be afloat. So
So
I'm
COVID changes or what kind of
no,
changes?
just I have a resources running out.
Classic.
Yeah,
Runway.
exactly. And once that's gone, it's going to be even harder. So I'm starting to think like, what can I do that's super chill part-time work? Like I'm thinking about like part-time at a dispensary. What more chill job? Like they either are high or they're about to be high.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, and straight up approach it. Again, don't make me a manager.
Yeah.
I want to work part-time. I
Yeah.
got a business I'm running. Like I want to be here 3 days a week,
I want to
maybe.
slang weed, man.
Yeah,
Nice.
just something. And I worked the black market and the weed market for 20 some years. It's not like
Wow.
I'm unexperienced.
Growing, buying, selling. You can't even talk about
Processing generally.
it. Ooh,
And
so you make oils.
no, you've got to process the plant. You got to trim and buck
yeah,
and
totally.
all that kind of stuff. And then
Bug
farm help, fertilizing and helping with the
Nice.
grow and all of that.
It's fun. It's fun being around
I,
marijuana.
can say that now. I couldn't say that then.
Seriously. No, we met a person who has a farm like around here. We're like a completely legal farm. And like being around, it's like, whoa, it's kind of fun to see like all the buds on the plants and stuff. And like they're all outdoors and you go indoors and the lights are really bright and you're like, no, show me the outdoor plants. Like,
Right. I mean, I grow my own. I grow 2. at a time, just for my own personal use.
How cool is it that you can say that
Oh, dude, it is so awesome.
And no one can do a single thing.
I never thought this would happen in my entire life because
Yeah.
all the years of like sneaking weed and picking seeds out of it and all that crap, like the world is so
But it was
different
somehow
now.
funner, wasn't it? Now that Leeds Weagle, it's like it loses that. Like it's like
There was a daredevil
there's a
aspect that I
daredevil
kind of
aspect of
miss.
it. And like a badass aspect of it.
You know,
like, oh, look at
when
this.
your mom calls you and asks you what it's going to be like if she goes into the dispensary, it's just not as cool anymore.
You're like, it's like
Although,
alcohol,
damn,
yeah.
I got a good laugh out of that.
I bet. It's going to be really intense.
Gonna be chill, Mom. Don't worry. It's like super clean. Most of them are almost clinical.
Yeah, what you're going to want to buy is an edible around 100 milligrams
Right?
minimum, and
Like-
you're going to want to take the entire
look
thing
for
at once.
30 to 60% THC
Yeah.
somewhere in there. It's gonna
And-
be just fine.
10 hits minimum. She calls you up. Is time going slower for you too? Can you help? No, you're
Nah,
on your own.
she
Remember
was-
that time you grounded me?
I know, dude. It's been my lifelong dream to make brownies for my mom without her knowing, but. I'm not the dose. I've been dosed. I'm not the dose somebody guy.
You've been
guy. It's fucked
dosed?
up. Yeah.
On weed or
Don't
other
go to
things?
rainbow gatherings. You might end up on acid you didn't ask for.
You've been dosed on LSD.
At a rainbow gathering.
What was it like? Because I've always wondered, like, would I be able to detect it? Like, if you dose someone who's never been on it, that's like literally
really
your Satan.
fucked.
But if you've been on LSD even once or twice, you'd recognize it immediately.
And I was walking into a rainbow gathering.
It's
like,
still shitty because, like, oh, I had plans.
Yeah.
But it's like, you
well,
know
and
you're
I've
not
been
losing your
drinking all
mind.
day. Like I go camping with my friends every year.
Yeah.
And we were out in
And
the
you're
middle
an
of the
alcoholic.
woods. Yeah. Well, and I'd been drinking all day.
Yeah.
And some dude rolled up and he happened to be going to the rainbow gathering, said, "Do you want to go?" And so I ended up going and got there, and like about 30 minutes in, things started getting a little weird. I'm like, this is strange. But as we discussed, I have my experiences with psychedelic chemicals, or entheogens, if you will.
Yeah.
And I started
Tryptamines.
like, what the hell is this feeling? And then,
Yeah.
you know, the brain kicks in and I'm like, I can identify this. I've done enough different things. What is this? And I'm like, I'm freaking a little bit because I didn't
yeah.
ask for it. And I was a little...
So how did it happen? Like someone like hey,
they
do you
walked
want
up,
to eat something?
hi, and they just rubbed their finger on my lips like this.
Wow.
And near as I can tell, that's how they got it to me.
That's fucking nutty.
But like I said, I've been drinking all day. My memory wasn't great anyhow. Like I was
Yeah.
a clear target. Like somebody
Dude.
could have fucking date raped me and I wouldn't have known.
coming
I
down
was-
from alcohol and coming up on
Yeah.
any sort of psychedelic would literally be a nightmare. It's like I'm dehydrated, I'm tired,
Right.
And then you're coming up, you have to have all this.
Yeah, and I'd been
energy.
in the woods for 3 days, so like
Oh,
my understanding society and shit is
Yeah,
weird.
What the fuck's going on? I mean, had you taken a shower in 3 days, or were you literally like
I was
sweaty,
literally,
sticky,
we go
tripping?
out like miles off the road
That's
into
probably
the
your worst
fucking
trip
dead
ever.
woods. It was
Doing what out there?
we just hang out,
Where do you think the orgies happen?
hang out, shoot guns, you know, do
Fine.
organ stuff.
Yeah. Oregon stuff.
But yeah, like, and my friend who had gone with me disappeared, and then I heard his voice across. You know, it felt like 100 years. You've been on acid,
Yeah.
time warps. Heard his voice, leapt up, ran across this crowd of people, grabbed my friend. He has this giant fur coat he wears to festivals. To this day, I swear he was wearing it. Swears he was not. He's
Yeah.
like, "Take me home. You're saving my life.
Nice.
Somebody fucking dosed me."
Him, I'm on acid too. You want me to drive?
He's like, "I got you," and he takes me
Nice.
home. And then I just like tripped around people that I was comfortable with for 12 hours. However, a dog did go missing while I was gone. Amazing story. Somebody found the dog on the road and started at Brighton Bush not Brighton Bush, at Cougar Hot Springs.
Yeah.
Going up every road, hollering, "We found a dog. Is it yours?"
Wow.
I've been high for like 5 hours.
Person's really
When somebody
nice and
comes up
dedicated.
and runs into our camp and goes, "We found a dog. Is it yours?" And my brother, whose dog disappeared, goes,
Wow.
"Fuck yes!" It was the craziest night
Oh,
of my.
those are
oh,
some
my
of the
Lord.
kindest people in existence. Someone who derailed
Those
the rest
people,
of their night.
those
Saints.
people make up for the asshole that dosed me.
Yeah. It's kind of a good way of looking at humanity.
So there's that long story.
Yeah. Okay, so if people make up for each other, good and bad, have you overall netted positive or negative experiences with people?
I fucking hate people, but I believe that, in all honesty, most people are directing for what they believe to be good.
Yes.
That is unfortunate because it means that Proud Boys are doing what they think because they think it's for good.
I'm proud to be a boy.
They believe that. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
They're very wrong.
Yeah.
But you know, I
well,
do.
again, they think they're right. Same
Yeah.
with-
In the
again,
end, I believe that people are out for what they believe is good. There are very few people that are literally straight out malicious. There are
Yeah,
some, you
I
know,
agree.
like there's your Ivan Malats and there's your Ted Bundys and there's those. You're just bad.
Yeah.
But
It's
as
this
a
funny
whole,
thing that you would say, okay, and I'm literally non-political in any way, but it's fun to entertain ideas. You say Proud Boys are thinking they're doing what's best, but they're doing bad, and you assume they're doing bad because they're running on false information. But you have probably never met one, so you're running on information that other people give you about what they're doing. So it's like, how do you know? Like, really, like, as soon as you get to the point where you're like,
you'd be
all
surprised
the
how many people I've run into in my
really?
life.
Oh, for me, it's like
I
any
run into
clip
some
I watch.
straight up white supremacists. I grew up in the 90s. We had skinheads around, and not just the modern. You know, I'm really proud of skinheads for getting their name out of the dirt, because it is a working class group in essence. If you look into the history, that's where it comes from. They were not built as a racist organization.
So
they
this
just
is Tyler
happened in the
C.
middle
Dones,
90s. But like, you live in Oregon long enough.
Skinhead proponent. I'm really proud
You
of
meet
that.
these people, and you just do. You run into
And they're
them.
just people who want the best. Yeah.
And they, again, like I said, they think they are doing what's right.
It's a weird thing.
There's
to
a
get
lot
to.
of history that says what they think is right.
Yeah.
That says that they're not, and I'm going to lay my bet on the history.
It's just a weird point to get to when it's hard to blame anyone for anything they do. It's like, oh, they're beaten in childhood, or blah, 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 blah. And then you're like, oh, they're a bad person today.
Yeah.
And you're like, can I blame them? And then you get to this weird place in life where you're like, you can't really blame anyone for anything
This is when it
ever
becomes
do.
about forgiveness.
Yeah.
You know, and the more you can forgive, the less you worry. And then
Tyler's
now we're
religious.
preaching your thing, right?
What's my thing?
No worries.
No worries, man. No, Tyler.
You didn't know you were born Australian until just now, did you?
No worries, mate. No, I mean, more, yeah, I guess I am kind of that. As soon as you put that in my mouth, I was thinking you were preaching like almost Christianity, like you got to forgive people, but it's not even forgive. It's like you want to get so charged as someone like, oh, that person mistreats their animal. It's like they grew up in a household where their parents were worse to an animal.
That doesn't make me want
They think they're doing
beat that
good to the
person any
animal.
less, however. Like, if you're beating on your animal, I want to beat on you.
But it makes
That's
it
just
so
what I mean. You're beating
understandable.
on your kid, I want to beat on you.
Totally. But then you
that's the way
actually
it
look
is.
at the person, like if you were to talk to them and be like, they're doing better than what was done to them as a child. Yeah. So it's like, how much gain in terms of positive can you expect one person to do in one lifetime? It's like this multi-generational thing. Still really hard, and it's like you want to blame them, but then it's like you're blaming a victim, a previous victim who's doing the best they can.
I was actually talking to my sister about that just the other day, about our mother and our relationship, and her mother and her relationship, and how like her goal, my mother's goal, was to not do what her mother did.
Yeah.
Excellent. Goal achieved. I'm not saying it was a perfect situation. You know, my mother and I get on pretty well. She was relatively supportive, but we spent the first 15, 22 years of my life or so yelling at each other.
Yeah.
It was not
Imagine
healthy.
you yelling. Wow.
It was not healthy.
yell
I've
anymore?
grown, man.
I bet.
I have grown.
You seem very nice.
But then my goal when I had my son was, I'm not going to do it like my mom did. I'm gonna
Not like your dad, like your mom.
My dad was my pal. Like, I didn't, like, my parents divorced when I was young, and I didn't move into my dad's house until I was like 16 almost. And so, like, I met him as a partially established human being.
Yeah. You're pretty baked.
I met him under a totally different context. He didn't have to go through all the crazy bedwetting and like screaming and trying and early puberty and all that shit that the mother had to go through. Mm-hmm. And my dad and I are like, we're thick as thieves, great mates.
So you're just like unbelievably understanding and forgiving and chill about your kid, and then you guys are still friends. You said you meet up with him after work.
My friend and I, or my kid and I, people see our relationship, and some people will even call it unhealthy. Like, you're not supposed to be that friendly in a parent and child relationship. But we're like, nope, this is how it works for us.
Yeah, smoke weed, chill, fish.
Exactly. Smoke a joint, go fishing, totally.
You don't have to yell at your kid, yeah.
Exactly. And we just have a great relationship. And in all honesty, it's worked for me. I wouldn't recommend it for everybody. It's definitely not the easy path.
You've been there
but
his
he's
whole life?
always I'm his only parent.
At what point did you switch from being a dad to a friend? At what age?
I was always his dad.
But you say you're his friend now. You're still his dad. Like, you don't like correct him on things.
He still calls me Pops.
Yeah,
and I tell him when he's fucking up.
But you're like good friends. You said. Like you just said that you had a really close relationship, like non-traditional dad relationship, which is alluding to the fact that you're pretty good friends.
Yeah.
But like you're not friend. Well, I guess maybe you're friends with like a 12-year-old. But a 12-year-old you still have to give direction to.
My kid is literally your age.
Yeah, it's crazy.
How can I not be his friend? Why? Yeah. What age divide says that I can't be his friend?
That's what I'm saying. When did that switch over? Like 18 or 20 or like 16 or like?
Well, we were always pals in the beginning, but as he got older and his thoughts developed more, like because we were friends about it, like he could talk to me about like what's this? What's going on in this? Like the birds and the bees talk was pretty chill at our house, kind of thing. You know, it was just a slow progression of okay, now we're at the point that Dad's going to go. Here's the condoms. They are in the medicine cabinet in the bathroom.
This is pretty
if they disappear or I see them getting low, I will replace them. No questions asked. You know, those kind of things. And so it's just as the questions grew.
Yeah.
You know, he was, and now he's getting, because he's your age, he's getting into philosophical shit. And he's like trying to get me into a deep conversation about the Mandela effect. I'm like, dude, seriously, that's just a construct of human minds. It's because we all believe something together that it happens.
Yeah.
And he's like, but I wanted to. I'm like, I processed that too long ago getting in that with you, kid.
But did you see the Fruit in the Loom logo? It used to have a cornucopia in it.
Right.
You know, like stuff like that where it's like, oh my God.
Berenstein or Bernstein?
Yeah, Bernstein Bear. Which one is it, though? Don't you think? And you're like, it's just a bunch of high people on the internet having fun.
Drink and smoke more, and you'll care less because your memories are a little jumbled anyhow.
That's
It's
so
perfect.
funny. Your kid probably grew up really well adjusted because you didn't like fearmonger anything. Then you didn't fearmonger sex. You probably didn't fearmonger drugs.
Nope.
You just
Nope.
gave an
Did not.
adequate. Yeah. Whereas like most people who grew up with like weed's gonna be this bad for you, or MDMA is gonna be this bad for you, and then they try it and
Oh,
they're
no, I
like,
taught my kid
everything that
when we're
person
at
told me
country
is a
fair,
lie.
you open a can of Coke, you take 2 drinks out of it, you fill the rest of it up with rum, and then you walk around. Nobody fucks with you when you're 14.
That's so.
You know,
funny.
well, maybe he was 15, but
21.
like when he's on country fairgrounds. Where the hell is he going to go? What's going to happen?
It's a big 8. It's
Yeah.
a loop. He'll be back in 3 hours.
Exactly. He knows the place better than I do. I get stuck in the booth all day long. I never see anything outside till it's dark, and so I have no idea during daytime where the hell I am.
Do you have a booth there, or you like work?
I did
at
have a booth there, yeah.
What booth was it? Like roughly number, or where in the 8?
Lower end, right by the original Dragon entrance. That's not the
Nice.
entrance anymore.
Yeah.
But by the
Were you the
original
people who
Dragon
turned
entrance.
bracelets into necklaces, or what'd you do?
I made everything you would normally see made out of leather, and I used reclaimed inner tube.
Rubber.
We've talked
yeah,
about
yeah,
this.
we talked about that. So it's still like sexual objects, or like anything?
I mean, I would have a flogger or two in the back, but I sold more. And this is what I sold at the kink shows. Is I sold more handbags and accessories,
Then
bracelets.
floggers at a kink show?
That's what I made and sold.
Oh, that's funny. I
Like
thought
there's
it
a
was
million
mostly
flogger
sex.
sellers there.
Yeah.
My niche was not selling them that.
But
I was like,
only
here's a
one leaves
bag
tire
for your
marks on you.
flogger.
Yeah. There's a bag for your flogger, but the tire one, like a bike tire, would leave like a tire mark on you. It'd be so unique. It'd be your brand.
Well, it's the inner tube, not the tire. But it's, you know, people have that rubber fetish. They like the smell. It worked out great.
I do not like the smell
And
of
the
rubber.
design, some people really do. Some people love the
Interesting.
smell of gasoline. Some people
Yeah,
don't
good
like the
point.
taste of cilantro.
Some people like the smell of
They're
Coke.
wrong, but you know.
Cilantro is this interesting thing, man, where I've never gotten into it.
That's
Every
so
burrito
funny.
I've ever had with cilantro on, I'm like, tastes like, not for me.
They
Tastes
say
like
there's some
soap?
genetic thing that
Not
yeah
soap,
it
I'm
makes
not
you
a soap
taste. It
person.
tastes like soap to some people, and they say there's some genetic quirk about it. But
Kenzie will attest to me. I don't like any vegetables at the end of the day.
It's true. He literally called me one time at like midnight. He's like, I haven't had a vegetable in months.
Months.
He's like, please,
I'm like, this
please
isn't
bring
healthy.
Me, like,
you're
a
gonna get
salad."
scurvy, yo.
Yeah.
No, you
it's-
get down with oranges. He's
I get down with
good
oranges.
on
Oh,
that.
okay.
Any sort of fruit and stuff like that. But I'm like, yeah, no. There's a certain amount of like, I was eating vegetables because I mean, like a person like me was like, almost like just on the skinnier side of life my whole life. So I'm like, I need to gain weight. So any like stomach area that I fill up with like an empty calorie in my way of an empty calorie, which is no like fats or like the carbs or things that will gain me weight, I saw as useless. Whereas most people probably saw like sugar, ice cream as useless. I saw like ice cream as like valuable. I'm like, oh, that'll help me toward
because
my
your
goal.
metabolism processes so
Yeah.
quickly.
So I'm like
that's all
opposite
well and
directions.
good until you hit your mid 40s. Let me tell you.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You show me a picture of you in your 20s. You're just like,
Oh, dude, I was svelte and trim,
Yeah?
and yeah,
damn, I guess I've only known you in your mid 40s. Like, I
Right.
probably met you when you were 45, and now you're 48.
somewhere in there. Yeah.
Very cool. I like it.
So
man.
yeah, I was small. I was like, I graduated high school. I wore a 30 waist pant. I wore a 30 waist pant until I turned 31 years old.
Wow. I'm even 31.
Yeah.
Damn.
And then at 31, I went up to a 31. I was kind of crushed. And then I was like, 31 makes
Yeah.
sense. Fair enough.
At what age did you start doing the mustache twirl?
That's been
2 weeks since I
10,
looked-
12 years ago, I think.
Nice.
10, 12 years ago. I mean, I started trying when I was a kid.
The amount of money you
like,
spent on
couldn't
beeswax.
Oh no, I had my own bees for a while.
Did you?
Yeah, I just, in fact,
You're
my
an
most
apier?
recent most recent batch is the last of my own personal beeswax.
Wow.
Is it difficult to have bees?
It's difficult to have bees die
Oh, that'd be so
yeah,
rough.
I get that.
because, like,
Do you eat the honeycombs and everything?
oh yeah, I used to go
Oh.
sit out next to the hive and just watch them buzz and just sit there. Maybe sometimes I read, but most of the time I just sit and they'd fly by me and buzz and I called them because they're almost all female. So I've got 30,000 pets and I named them all Honey, right?
Yeah. Why'd you stop having bees?
Because they died.
Oh.
I lost 3 hives.
Oof.
I lost 3 hives in 2 years, and I was like, man, I can't.
Why?
Get more and then
do you,
yeah.
Do you know why? It
Colony
happened?
collapse. Yeah.
I don't know
I have
what
a
it is.
friend who's a master beekeeper, and he came over. He was like, "You don't have mites or anything. It was just straight colony collapse."
That's crazy.
That's
Weird.
where bees are going, and
Yeah.
that's like people that do it professionally, they lose tens and 20s and hundreds of hives depending on how big their organization is every year. But I will tell you,
Good. Hashtag fuck the
you've
bees.
never seen anything funnier than a person at the post office handing you your box full of live bees.
Oh.
Because you had them shipped from somewhere.
It'd be a blast. It's funny
They're a
that...
cage. You can see through it. They know what's in it.
Yeah.
They're like,
Here you go, man.
sit on the table.
Yeah.
And you're like, thanks. It's good to see you, honey. So you wander out.
This will make a fine addition to my collection. It's funny. That's in many ways happened to me, but not exactly, because I ordered mason bees, which they don't sting. They're not the same.
Yeah, we were
and
talking about that a
they came
little bit.
woken up. It was really depressing, man.
Oh.
But anyways, so I guess I know your pain. No, I'm
Yeah.
kidding. Obviously, I had like 15 bees that I hoped made a hive. They just came out too early. It was too cold. They didn't know the flowers were out, and I was like,
The season's all weird. They don't know what to do anything
seasons
right
are
now.
weird,
Yeah.
dude. Eugene is not doing super well in terms of plants.
We just in the Pacific Northwest are going to have to get real used to a real different atmosphere.
Yeah, way too hot.
Yeah.
Really cold. Kind of mild winter, I guess, last year. I guess not really hot, really cold.
Last winter was pretty chill, which means I'm going to lose trees this year. Hopefully, it's not the one next to the power lines.
Lose trees because of the weather? What?
It just snows too much. Trees come down.
Oh, yeah. I thought you meant because of not enough
And
water.
I own my house. It's my problem. Not like you, where you call up the landlord and shit gets fixed.
Call up the
Like
landlord.
I'm like,
Just
all
move
right,
out.
how much do I have on the credit card?
Ooh. It's crazy to think
Another
about
pro
that.
of being a renter. I used to
Yeah.
want to buy a house so bad. That was like my only dream, and now I'm like, fuck that.
I can't see how anybody your age even thinks that it's rational.
There's no reasonable way we
Like
could buy a house.
rent
Well, that
costs
too.
alone would talk you out of it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because rents are stupid.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
My kid just moved into a place, and I'm like, it's a criminal amount of money.
Yeah.
Absolutely criminal amount of money.
It's whack. I mean, we're in a finisher state, though. I say it all the time. Like, this is where most people, they retire here or they come here when they're doing well. But then if you start here, and it's like, okay, you have to leave all your friends and connections to go start in, a starter state where it's, way cheaper to live. But, if you grow up here, it's like, how do I try to make
It's
a
only
finisher
the last
state?
10, 20 years that we've been a finisher state.
only been
Prior to
alive
that,
10,
we were
20 years.
I know.
Yeah.
And that's the world you know, but it
Yeah.
wasn't like that. Like, you used to be able to get shit pretty cheap, and it was easy to live here.
Yeah.
And now it's like, man.
If you feel that way, why wouldn't you sell your house? If you're like, why would anyone young buy a house?
Because
You
I'm
could
only
sell
like
your house.
9.5 years away from paying it off.
Nice. It's a good place to be.
Right? And
Yeah.
so a paid off house,
Paid off house to paid off house.
It's pretty.
I'll take out loans on a home improvement, put a roof on the thing finally. Hopefully the roof lasts as long as the loan is.
You go see your house. There's actually no roof right now.
It's entirely possible. I mean, the thing's falling into the ground.
Oh,
It was
so
built in
funny.
1928. What do you want out of it?
Wow.
Wow. You go
Damn.
to you're part of the thing, and it's just like a flat thing. Your entire house is 3 stories underground. That'd be kind of cool.
Very much what might happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have a basement? There's an interesting amount of houses around here
do
that
have a
basements.
basement.
It's so
It's
weird.
crazy.
Whereas
Weird.
only this house doesn't have a basement.
Well, this is where I'm happy about the climate change part, because back when it used to rain a whole lot, my basement flooded every single year. My
Ooh.
basement floods like every third year
Does it
now.
reek of mold
This is
still?
good.
Yeah.
What's that?
Does it still reek?
You give up. It
You
smells
give
like a
up.
basement, man.
Yeah. You go down there, it's flooded. Who the fuck cares this year?
That's
You
why my
come
sewing
back.
machine workshop. Well, my sewing machine workshop for small machines, big machines is the living room. It smells like penetrating oil, the weed tent, and
Yeah.
a basement. You know,
It's a hot tub in the summer. You just leave the water in there.
right?
Nah, you just you just walk down in the basement. You have these awesome I have the ceiling lights on in here. It's this nice it's so algae filled, disgusting.
Nice green,
Nice
smooth.
green, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd like to have a basement. There's something spooky about it, but something also nice where it's
I would
you go
hate a
down.
basement.
It's cool.
You know why you don't want a basement?
Hate it.
Why?
Because you put shit down there and you forget about it, and
That's
then you
what
have
I
just
mean.
more shit.
As a renter, we got nothing.
Ex- Exactly.
Spooky.
Spooky.
I don't like.
Do you believe in ghosts? She believes in ghosts, and all the time I'm just they're not real. You got to stop with that.
I'm gonna say yes,
Yeah.
but with the caveat that it's not all Casper the Friendly Ghost, and it's not fucking ghost hunters.
Yeah.
I believe that there is some kind of. I mean, we've talked about this before. There's something bigger than
How do you
us.
remember what we talked about? That's over a year ago. You said that
Did I
multiple times.
podcast
I'm
as well? Like, the
I'm
memory
like,
locks
dude,
some of this
I
stuff.
don't remember anything I've talked about with any guest ever for the most part. I'm like, I know roughly about you, but I'm like, whew.
Well, we were talking. I couldn't remember the topic I covered yesterday on my own podcast, so it's got to sit for a little while and boil.
Yeah. You earlier in the show, I'm 46. The worst part, or 48. The first part of getting older is memory, and then you tell me multiple things that I'm supposed to remember. I'm like,
I used to be.
I'm
I used
fucked.
to be a trap, and I just not anymore.
Used to be like a steel trap, and you remember everything.
Like anything came in, I just and
The mine.
and now it's like I was trying to remember how to explain using modes instead of chords and key signatures in music
Yeah.
the other day to somebody, and I was like, it's been so long. It was hard. Like I had to struggle through. I had to glance at Wiki.
Yeah,
You know?
Kenzie's learning guitar, and I'm kind of teaching her, and then I get to a place where I don't remember, and I'm like, anyways, that's good enough for now. And then like
This is when YouTube comes in, man.
yeah, she saw a piano like saw it since learning guitar for the first time, and she's like, this makes way more sense because it's like
It
literally
does.
laid out.
Yeah.
When a guitar, it's like it's there, so it's easy to make all the different chords. It
Yeah,
doesn't
but you
make,
can
like, a
see
logical
scales
sense.
on a piano.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so confusing. Like he'll move it around and he's like, and this is the same as this one and this and this and this.
Yeah,
and
like
Yep.
you just do the
That
bar
makes
chords
no-
up, and it's just a half step
no
up every
sense.
time. It's like, but why? It's like
But
because
why?
the way it is.
I know.
You know, like whoever invented a guitar could tell you. But yeah, anyways,
That's how it is in Western music. You go to Eastern music, sitar, you play quarter steps. And
quarter
things like that,
steps.
too,
It's nutty. Yeah, no, it's
Wow.
really interesting. Like part of you is like
Western music's all 12-tone theory, and
Yeah.
Eastern music is a whole different world.
interesting
Cool.
stuff. But
So-
yeah, we hit about an hour. Do you want to plug your stuff and like tell me the links to put in the description?
Yeah,
Text them to
cool.
me later. But yeah,
Follow
him on
my
Twitter.
two podcasts, one of which is on kind of hold right now, being this person.
which I was on twice.
Yep. Tiger's been on twice. And the other one, Ruined Heroes, which is very irreverent and not for everyone, but all available on any podcast feed you want to dig it up on.
Sweet.
Other than that, you need a sewing machine fixed. Loop Solutions is your guy.
Loop Solutions.
And I think that's all I had to plug right
So
now.
you're gonna give me 3 links. Kind of. It's so weird when someone.
I don't
asks
have a
for, like,
website for my sewing machine business. There's no reason to have a website. What I'm going to show people on a website.
Yeah, and same with like podcasts. It's like, okay, well, you're gonna give a link to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, like unless you have like one of those link trees where it's all in one. But it's like
I just have them both hosted on Squarespace. So I just give the direct
nice.
internet link, and you
Squarespace,
can find the
rich
episodes
bitch
page.
life. I'm WordPress. I'm the cheaper end.
They're not paying me. I shouldn't have said anything. No
Yeah.
plugs for people
Not
that aren't
sponsored.
paying
I
me.
mean, they're an ad on every YouTube video. Fuck, you might be sponsored by them. Literally,
It
there's,
was
like,
easy. The downside is they limit you at 300 episodes. So
Ooh,
like,
really?
yeah.
What are you gonna do when you hit that? Switch over and then
Oh,
you gotta.
we just like call it the back catalog. That's when we sounded crappy anyhow.
So you're past 300 episodes with
On that one, yeah, with Ruined Heroes, we're
Wow.
way past 300. We're at I think we just recorded 365 or something.
Can you do
like
it
that.
once a week? So you've been doing it for
Yeah.
6 years?
4
4
years.
Bad at math. Or I'm bad at math. But I guess I might,
156 days a year.
oh yeah, I guess I might be able to beat you eventually. If I'm at 120, and I do one every day for the next year or two, I'll beat you.
You'll pass me.
I
At
don't-
the speed you go, man, you're going to pass me easy.
Yeah.
But if you add my 2 podcasts together, you got some catch up.
There we go. And I take a 1 year break every other year apparently. So I mean, with any luck, that'll be ending. But thank you very much for coming
Yeah,
on the show.
thanks for having me again.
Yes, send me
Always
any
a
links.
pleasure.
Kenzie's gonging us out of here. Peace. Love you,
Oh,
everyone.
we have an official gong.
We have an official
This is what you
gong
do when you
ending.
give up editing.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Louder. Hit that shit loud.
There you go.
Golden. That was a blast.
That was fun.
That was fun.